Ever wondered what's going on inside the mind of a serial killer? What drives them to make the choices that they have made? If that's a concept you find intriguing, you're in the right place. The 1980s was an immaculate time when American cinema was making strides in many genres. New genres were being explored as the cinema evolved at a rapid rate. However, certain kinds of movies stood out and made a name for themselves. Today, we are going to talk about some must-watch, dark serial killer movies from the 1980s and the subsequent revival of the neo-noir genre. Several serial killer movies in the 80s made their way into the theaters. Some were extremely loved, and others inspired sequels and even an entire TV series. While talking about these movies, we will also learn about the various subgenres linked with them, psychological thriller and horror being the most prominent. So, before any further wait, let's look at 13 serial killer movies from the 80s that you must watch. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Manhunter, 1986. Have you heard about the 1991 movie Silence of the Lambs? Manhunter was the ultimate prequel. Released in 1986, the movie was an adaptation of the novel Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. It takes a deep dive into the neo-noir genre and adds a much-needed modern touch to it. It explores the story of profiler Will Graham, who is troubled psychologically because of his past encounters with serial killers. After locking horns with the scary Tooth Fairy serial killer, Graham needs the assistance of the infamous Hannibal Lecter, played to absolute perfection by Brian Cox. Graham suffers from PTSD and reluctantly returns to the force to bring down the Tooth Fairy. Now, the Tooth Fairy is not your average serial killer. He is known for his unforgiving killing spree, where he targets entire families and leaves destruction in his path. To understand the killer's motives, Graham takes the help of the cannibal Hannibal Lecter, who has an unparalleled, twisted mind. However, help comes at a cost, and each time Lecter unravels a mystery, Graham has to share secrets about his personal life. The character's psychological cat-and-mouse chase makes this movie thoroughly engaging. The movie, directed by Michael Mann, is infamous for its deep psychology of the characters. The psyches of both the antagonist and the protagonist are explored to perfection. Although the movie didn't do well at the box office, it received critical acclaim and eventually earned cult status among fans of the psychological thriller genre. It even laid the way for the blockbuster movie Silence of the Lambs and the critically acclaimed series Hannibal.
How do you like Shitsville?
The Hitcher, 1986. Ever wonder what it would look like when someone is constantly stalking you and plotting your murder? The Hitcher has the answer. Released in the same year as The Manhunter, The Hitcher explores the story of Jim Halsey, who coincidentally crosses paths with a devious serial killer. While delivering a car cross-country, Jim Halsey picks up a hitchhiker out of boredom, and soon it turns out to be the biggest mistake of his life. After John Ryder reveals himself as the killer, Halsey barely scrapes away with his life, which in turn gives way to a thrilling psychological cat-and-mouse chase. The thriller then frames our protagonist for all the murders and manipulates the police to catch him. With help from his only ally, a waitress, Nash, Halsey tries to clear his name while defeating the killer. This movie provided an exciting concept where instead of an FBI profiler, the protagonist is an average human being, just like us. Therefore, the story becomes incredibly thrilling and a downright psychological horror at some point. The movie was directed by debutante Robert Harmon, who paints a dark and real picture of the vastness and emptiness of the American roads and the secrets that are held within it. For an average cinephile, these feelings come to life due to a convincing performance by Rutger Hauer, who delivers a chilling performance. The movie has a cult audience and failed to crack the mainstream due to its disturbing and psychological terror. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, 1986. 1986 was an excellent year for serial killer movies, as this is the third movie in this list from the same year. However, nothing is similar between Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and the movies mentioned. Based on a true story, the movie revolves around an ex-convict, Henry, who is just released from prison following his mother's murder. Henry is disturbed and goes through immense psychological trauma. He turns into a devious serial killer, and his ex-con friend Otis becomes an unwilling accomplice to his crimes. As Otis's sister Becky gets increasingly involved with the killings, the tension between these two characters leads to the ultimate face-off. The movie doesn't shy away from graphical violence and shows the true psychological horror of Henry's actions. The character of Henry is written to perfection, as his disturbing side is shown well, along with his peak manipulation skills. The movie is loosely based on the serial killers Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. Known for its gritty realism and the disturbing yet horrifying portrayal of a character, the low-budget movie did incredibly well. It earned many thriller and serial killer movie fans along the way. Sea of Love, 1989. With the legendary Al Pacino being a burnt-out detective to perfection, Sea of Love is truly an engaging watch. However, Al Pacino isn't the only bright light in the movie, as it shines in many other aspects. The movie explores the life of Frank Keller, portrayed by Al Pacino, who investigates various murders around the city. These murders have a common theme and revolve around the newspaper's Lonely Hearts ads. Through those ads, his life intertwines with Helen Kruger, and romance ensues. However, Frank soon notices Helen's interesting connection with the killer. These complexities of love and suspicion are played out perfectly by the characters, especially in Frank Keller's internal psychological conflicts. The movie invokes true suspense in the viewer's mind, with a massive twist waiting at the end. The movie is directed by Harold Becker, who does a great job mixing romance with thrill and suspense. Fans of the psychological thriller genre should give this a try, just for the convincing performance by Al Pacino. Dressed to Kill, 1980. Dressed to Kill is an interesting movie that approaches two different perspectives simultaneously. It follows the story of Kate Miller, a housewife who wants adventure. However, the adventure soon turns out to be the biggest calamity of her life as she witnesses a brutal murder. To overcome the psychological trauma, Kate turns to her psychiatrist, Dr. Robert Elliott, played by the legendary Michael Caine. Caine's character is interesting and has many layers that viewers realize by the end. The story that follows has several twists and turns to keep the audience engaged throughout its runtime. The movie was a hit at the box office, and many liked the niche direction style of Brian De Palma. The film applies many filmmaking techniques like the split screen and various editing tricks to arouse suspense and thrill in the minds of a viewer. However, what sets this movie apart is the incredible twist and suspenseful payoff in the end. The storyline will keep you guessing throughout the movie as you develop a deep connection with all the viewers. These aspects make this movie a must-watch for all the serial killer movie fans and viewers who applaud great acting and characterization. Miss 45, 1981. Miss Miss 45 has a dark and thrilling plot that is extremely disturbing yet riveting. It explores the story of mute seamstress Thana, who is raped twice in one day while returning home from work. The first incident occurs when she's returning home, and the second occurs in her apartment. The unfortunate situation takes a massive toll on her. Unable to process her feelings, she arms herself with a .45 caliber pistol and vows to take revenge on everyone who's wronged her. Subsequently, she goes on a violent rampage throughout the city and targets men irrespective of their crimes. This is why this movie makes it on the serial killer movies list, even without featuring a killer. The movie is a great social commentary on the injustice faced by many during those times and the inability of the justice system to protect those who are wronged. The movie received mixed reviews due to its climax scene, where Thana enters the costume party as a nun and goes on a shooting spree. The unfortunate calamity enforced on Thana makes her a brutal killer who kills indiscriminately. The movie was an independent feature and didn't do well at the box office. Many criticized it for its brutal representation and dark themes. However, now Miss 45 has a niche audience. Many appreciate it for the realism and social commentary on the bleak situation of the 80s. Cruisin, 1980. Al Pacino plays Steve Burns, an undercover cop in 1980s New York. He infiltrates underground gay S&M clubs to hunt down a serial killer who is targeting these people. Steve navigates this unknown and dangerous world, blurring the lines between cop and participant in his desperate search for the culprit. Cruisin is a bold neo-noir thriller. It offers a raw and unflinching portrait of a subculture rarely explored in mainstream cinema of the time. Pacino gives a powerful performance, showing Steve's descent into this dark world. The neo-noir atmosphere, smoky images, and pulsating soundtrack amplify the film's suspense. Cruisin is a dark and disturbing film with strong performances and a bold exploration of a hidden world. It's not for everyone due to its mature themes, but fans of neo-noir thrillers will appreciate its suspense and Pacino's acting. While some saw it as an innovative exploration of a hidden subculture, others criticized its stereotypical and exploitive portrayal. The film has sparked conversations about homophobia and the representation of LGBTQ communities in cinema. The movie remains a complex and massively misunderstood movie. Director William Friedkin even commented on its impact and how he just meant to make a crime thriller and not start the subsequent social movement. Tightrope, 1984. A movie with Clint Eastwood in the lead role is bound to be interesting, and Tightrope is just that. Bound to catch the sadistic serial killer, Detective Wes Block goes to extreme lengths and has a deep realization of self. The movie starts with a young woman stalked by a mysterious figure while returning home. She is later escorted by a policeman who resembles the mysterious figure. The next thing we know is that the woman is strangled in her bed, and Wes Block is the one investigating her murder. During his investigation, Block learns that all the victims of this mysterious serial killer are prostitutes. However, things get even more disturbing when the killer targets specific women that Block has an association with. The killer portrayed in the movie is extremely sharp and leaves various notes for Block, taunting him in the process while leaving a long line of bodies. What later ensues is a cat-and-mouse chase between Block and the killer, and how the detective cracks this disturbing mystery. The movie is a neo-noir thriller that focuses mainly on the psychological aspects of a crime. It will keep you guessing until the end on who the final killer is, and the payoff is completely worth it. Clint Eastwood delivers a riveting performance and plays a cold and disturbed character with extreme ease. While baffling his demons, many gray aspects in Wes Block's character are not exactly portrayed as a true protagonist. In essence, the movie is a worthwhile watch for the fans of this genre, and the performances won't disappoint the viewers. Tenebrae, 1982. Tenebrae is a bit different from the other movies on the list for various reasons, most importantly being its origin. It is an Italian giallo film that revolves around an author named Peter Neal, who travels to Rome to promote his new work. Soon, Neal learns about murders in the city that are vividly similar to those described in his novel Tenebrae. Exasperated and completely disturbed, he sets out to find the killer's identity, setting the stage for an intense thriller set in the historic city of Rome. The primary crux of the movie is the identity of the serial killer, which is shrouded in mystery. Like famous movies like Angels and Demons, the movie gives audiences various clues throughout to keep them engaged. The serial killer's identity is one of the crucial elements, and the payoff is completely worth it in the end. Directed by Dario Argento, the movie is known for its impeccable cinematography and engaging screenplay. The twists and turns are executed perfectly, keeping the audience engaged until the end. What adds to this is the revolutionary camera work that wasn't seen in mainstream movies at the time. The movie has since gained a cult following among horror and thriller fans and is considered one of Argento's best works. Angst, 1983. Loosely based on the actual crime case from 1980, where Werner Nizick brutally murdered 3 people, Angst is a movie about a convicted killer who abruptly barges into a home and horrendously murders 3 people. The plot revolves around exploring the psyche of a serial killer and all the trauma that leads to a person committing such devastating acts. While being a psychological thriller, Angst is also regarded as a true horror movie due to its disturbing portrayal of a serial killer. This movie's perspective sets this movie apart from the others on the list. The viewers follow the life of the serial killer instead of an FBI profiler or a detective. Additionally, its violent and disturbing theme makes it one of the most difficult movies to watch from the 1980s. However, it still received praise for its impeccable cinematography and the use of tracking and still shots from unconventional positions. The camera work is bound to disturb all viewers of this movie, and massive caution is advised. However, the fans of this genre will have a great time watching this Austrian movie directed by Gerald Kargl. Cop, 1988. Cop, released in 1988, is your traditional action thriller starring the star of the 80s, James Woods. It evolves around the story of police officer Lloyd Hopkins, who is determined to catch the serial killer who victimizes women. As he delved deep into the investigation, he discovered corruption, deceit, and the injustice of the system to support those who didn't have any help. During his fight for justice, Hopkins faces many dangerous foes and leads down a rabbit hole of the crime underworld. The movie is widely regarded for its accurate depiction of the gritty and unforgiving world of crime. There's a fine line between delivering justice and acting like a vigilante. Cop, directed by James B. Harris, informs the viewers about such details with an engaging screenplay while focusing on morals and integrity. The movie failed to achieve the commercial success expected at the time of its release. Since then, it has developed a cult following among fans of action thrillers, and it's a must-watch for all action lovers. Blowout, 1981. Starring the iconic John Travolta, Blowout is the second movie on this list directed by Brian De Palma, the first being Dressed to Kill. The movie is an ideal psychological thriller, exploring the life of a sound technician who accidentally records evidence of a political assassination. It is regarded as one of De Palma's best works due to its engaging storytelling and exceptional performances. After recording the political assassination, Jack Terry, played by John Travolta, soon gets involved in a political conspiracy and needs a young woman's help to resolve it. It is regarded for paying homage to the great Alfred Hitchcock by including riveting plot twists and an engaging soundtrack. The movie's concept showcases the power of surveillance and how it can help bring about massive change. Due to its relevance in modern times, Blowout is considered as a classic among suspense and psychological thriller fans. The Stepfather, 1987. Can a psychopath change his ways for good or not? Let's find out. The Stepfather is a horror crime thriller based on a family man whose life seems perfect initially. Jerry Blake, played by Terry O'Quinn, marries a widow with 3 children and slowly reveals his psychopathic tendencies. He tries to integrate himself into a new family, but each time it ends with murder. Jerry's obsession with perfection ultimately leads to his downfall, and this movie explores that in great detail. When they were released, slasher movies were making their rounds in the theaters. However, director Joseph Rubin went another route and released more on the psychological aspect instead of the adrenaline-rushing action. The movie is a perfect slow burner and is praised for Terry O'Quinn's almost perfect performance. The movie was a commercial and critical success and even paved the way for 2 sequels. However, those didn't have the same impact as the original.
No!
Conclusion. Audiences have always loved serial killer movies as they get an insight into the lives of chilling psychopathic people who have committed atrocities that one can only think about. The movies we have discussed cover every possible genre related to serial killer movies, whether they are psychological thrillers or slasher horror movies. With these 13 movies, we believe your watch list for the near future is completely covered. However, if you want something entirely different, check out the Marvelous Videos channel for videos related to comics or different genres of cinema. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.